Well, hi there. Greetings, bloggers, vloggers, followers, and potters. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty, here at you again with another edition of this week's vlog. If you haven't known me, my name is Dustin. I'm a middle-aged autistic man. I've been living this autism world and diagnosis for most of my life, over 4 decades of living through it. And I've been living on my own for almost 8 years now. And I've been working a part-time job for over 16 years, I believe now. So we've been through life, living life one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time. So without further ado, we're going to get into this week's episode. You may know today, we're putting this out a little early today because today is Juneteenth and it is a Friday. So we usually do our episodes on Friday night, but today's being a holiday, we're here, we're doing this. And as we start our day, we're going to talk about acceptance this week, and that's just the one word that we're going to call this podcast episode, this vlog episode, because acceptance is a big word that is just one word, and it goes in many forms, shapes, sizes, ways of how we use it. Some oftentimes we have to accept others for who they are and meet them for who they are. We have to accept the world as it is in the outside world. That we can't always get what we want, but if we advocate and we try our best, we get what we need. And lastly, we accept what's within ourselves, who we are, what we need to do, and who we need to be. So that pretty much segues it into many ways of understanding how we must endure this life and how that doing all of those things can help lead us to have our best life yet. And I think one of the biggest things, we're going to go break down those things back in the same way I just explained them. So, accepting everybody else in the world. And, it's not easy. Everybody has their thoughts, everybody has their feelings about things and their emotions or their opinions or their thoughts can get in the way. It can divide people, it can separate people. It's a sad truth in the world. It's accepting, sometimes not everybody's going to be your cheerleader, be your support, or even just be with you and agree with you. And, coming from a person of LGBTQ plus identity, and it being Pride Month, we see that more and more this month than ever. Not only in the real world, but we see it, in the online platforms and stuff that we navigate. Sometimes things are hurtful, sometimes things are mean, or we degrade people, or we think of them as less than, or we think we're better than everybody else. And it can be hurtful sometimes. And for the longest time, I could not see that in myself that I was being hurtful or mean to others or arrogant or selfish. And I couldn't see people for who they were, regardless of what demographic they were, what spectrum they were on, whether that was in the LGBTQ plus, whether that was in the autism, special needs, mental health spectrum. Everybody has a story to share. Everybody has their right to share it or share what they have to say about themselves or their lives or their needs in the way that works best for them. It isn't for somebody else to choose. If they need help, that is for them to get on their own and find and do the things the way they do them. I think the same thing, when we talk about accepting others, is accepting that even if they're in the same venue or the same arena that we're in, and they're learning things that maybe, I had learned, or maybe, I felt at one time I had the control, or feel that everything had to be my way. Sometimes we have to let others learn things themselves for themselves. We have to let them live through it and experience it. Definitely, my parents have done that with me time and time again throughout my independence, and I've had some setbacks, and finally I've bounced back and have got to the end of the tunnel to the point where the goal of being consistently mentally stable is reached, and we're finding that healthy compromise. But we'll get into that in a bit. I'll explain more of that. But again, it's meeting people where they are and seeing, one of those big wins for me was seeing that I can't be responsible for everything and I can't control everything. So, I have to accept things for what they are. For example, today is Juneteenth. Today is a federal holiday. It today marks 5 years that it's been a federal holiday, and we have to learn to live with things. We know that, it's just what it is. It's a reality, and it's what it is. We can't control it. And even though sometimes things are written or we're a rule follower, or just because something on paper says it has to be XYZ way, doesn't always mean it's going to be that way. And we have to learn to respect and accept those decisions for what they are. It doesn't, it's not about I get my way or they get their way, or it's all about them or they always get what they want. It's, understanding this is the way of the land, this is the final ruling, this is how it's going to be. And we must have to learn. And that was one of the big things I had to learn over the past 2 years was I couldn't be in control and do whatever the heck I wanted. Part of it was being mentally unstable, but part of it was I had to realize I'm not the boss of things, and that I have to what my responsibility is taking care of my mental health first and foremost, but also, learning that I can't control everything and I can't be responsible for things that are not my responsibility. So I have to be responsible for what I am responsible for. So those things are. And then when we talk about our peers or anybody we cross paths with, it's the same thing, accepting and meeting people for their needs and how they navigate the world, and just seeing them essentially as a human being who should have the same rights as, anybody else. We're all human. With what makes America great, in some sense, that we have freedoms and opportunities, and there's been laws, decisions, so forth that have been passed that gives us additional rights as long as we hold on to our responsibilities that we are to hold, to be able to do the things that we are able to do, and the freedoms that we've been granted in this world, to thrive and be successful. And I think that's where it segues into, accepting, that I do have a mental health diagnosis. I do have special needs. I do have autism. I do have challenges in life. I do have to take medication to have the best quality of life possible. I do have to sleep each evening. I need pills. I need medication to help me sleep. And that's not the only thing it does. It helps me be more mentally stable and keep my faculties under control and be able to manage life's challenges and be able to thrive and be successful. Those are some of those things that we accept. But another part is accepting that what happened in the past is indeed the past, and we have to put it behind us. And, things were different years ago, and things are different now. And the world is constantly changing, and even so, as in the past few years, as life has changed, family members get older, family members' lives change, the way they are able or not able to do things or change, the way they have to be there for others change. And part of that was accepting that I had to grow in my own way and be stronger for myself so that I can thrive in my independent life that I know I need, and realize that I can't live anything of a higher level of care because of what some of the things that happen there, and how, you know, I have to be grateful and blessed for the opportunity, that I have to maintain my independence and work my darndest to keep it going, no matter what it takes, and be strong and speak up for myself, and learn that things, we don't always get what we want, but if we fight hard, or we say what we say in a dignified and appropriate and tonefully respectful manner, will be heard. And I think that's the thing that matters, because I think there part of the past bitterness and some of the past hate was some of the things that are hurtful or that I had a hard time managing. And while learning to manage some of those things are changing, things are getting better, where some of that worry isn't there. I think sometimes it takes, how we react to things instead of responding to things in a proper manner and an appropriate manner, and not seeing things as how we want things our way, or we're scared, or we let our anxiety override how our tone is dignified, how we come across, how our delivery of our words are. And it's keeping those things at bay, doing what we need to do, using the skills we need to use our words, and learn that we need it. Oftentimes we're often rushed with our words and want our answers now and our results now, and we can't always have that. But I've seen, even though for a very long time, as I've had frustration about things, slowly things are evolving. And as much as change is hard and we're accepting what's new, we start seeing little things that are happening that make things better for us, and realize things are really going good for us, and we're really showing who we really are. It's part of accepting, yeah, everything else that's in the world, but it's also seeing what we need to do and be, and how much we have grown, and that we need, even though we think, a goal may end on paper, or something may end on paper, that we need to, keep wanting to do better for ourselves. We want to keep being the best person we can be. We always want to improve ourselves and be better, and try to be the best we can be. Even if something, it should be this way, or it's written on paper that it should be this way, it just always can't be. And that's not saying it'll always be that way, but we learn and grow how to manage ourselves. First and foremost, take care of ourselves, be responsible for ourselves, care for ourselves. And part of that all winds into accepting, the things that we must endure in life, the things we must go through, and how we have to live our life and find our peace and our harmony in ourselves, so we're not so stressed out, so we're not overburdened mentally and emotionally, so we can feel free from the pain that we've had for far too long. And part of that is, yes, it's a part of accepting what is and not being bitter, but learning that we can't change what happened. We can't hold hate or bitterness where people used to be, or think about people in the way things were, but see them how, if we're seeing the same people, seeing how they are in the here and now, and learning to live in the here and now, and not and accepting we can't continue to live in turmoil about things we can't control, and things we don't have power to be responsible for, fix, or micromanage. We have to learn how to overcome things, learn how to control our emotions, learn how to accept ourselves and others how we are, by realizing first and foremost, taking care of ourselves is crucial, and then how we're conducting ourselves, along with understanding what our responsibilities must be. And life gets better. I was always one, to think, well, I always got to be busy, I always got to keep going. If I have too much time on my hands, or I feel, or it looks as if I'm having too much time on my hand, then we need to do something about that. But then, as we grow older, we see maybe we need breaks every so often. Maybe we need time to wind down and relax. Maybe we just need time to care for ourselves. And accepting that is part of it too. So as I close, and I hope everybody has a great weekend, just be sure to give this video a like if you think you really liked it, or vote it, or however you like. Be sure to tap that notification bell so you can hear more of my content. We try to get it out every week, even though we have lots of Fridays this year that are going to be less crowded. So you'll be seeing content better and sooner. Be sure to follow me on my channels, on my podcast. Tap to subscribe wherever you see me. As far as any all my platforms, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, X, or Pinterest, and TikTok. There you can search Dustin's Dynasty, with the exception of TikTok. My new stuff is under New Dustin's Dynasty, and I'm trying to keep that consistent along with the other platforms as well. If you haven't seen, you can always visit my website at www.dustinsdynastyusa.com. And lastly, if you haven't remembered any of it, it's all under Linktree. Linktree, tr.ee at the end, /Dustin's Dynasty. You'll find all of those items online and everything you need. Sign up for my e-blast list. And I'm thankful for everybody that has liked and followed my journey. Even though we reached 1,400 followers on Facebook last week, we are still growing even more, as I seen this morning. And I appreciate everybody who's taking the effort to follow me and be interested in my content going forward. I will not disappoint you. I will not let you down. So in closing, let's have a good weekend, everyone. Remember, you matter. You are enough. You are loved. 143, as people know what that is. I love you. And we'll talk again next time. Take care of yourselves and have a good day. Bye for now.